you see on either side of me there is a save the date next week in Geneva at the World Health Assembly. We will actually be bringing the discussions that we are having here in this dialogue, now in the panels and also the deep dive. They will be actually included on the framework that was developed in Kigali last March, and we will be presenting that at WHA. So first appeal is if for any of you who are at WHA, please do come and join us at this session. And then I think item 2 that I've been asked housekeeping to make is that as we finish wrap up panel 2 and we are leaving, there will be somebody right outside the store who will give you a coupon for lunch. So please take a note of that. So on very quickly to panel number 2, which is on community-led innovation, scale, and the role of new intermediaries. This session will be moderated by Ms. Renu Muller, who is a partner, transformational health at Frost & Sullivan. So please take the stage.
Thank you very much, and it's lovely to be here with all of you. So, some background, I am a Malaysian, third generation. My great-grandparents are from Punjab in India. I've lived and worked in Malaysia, in Indonesia, Singapore, Australia, and now my next target I think should be Africa, because it was completely more or less different geographies here. So, at Frost & Sullivan, what we do is we really look at what are the different technologies, the different business models, and the different trends that are impacting healthcare across different geographies. So we do that across 40 over different countries. So I'm very privileged to have the perspective of being able to look at this, this issue of healthcare access, which is something very personal to me, across many different countries, and not just access, but the level of access, because it should be something that everyone should have as a basic human right. So can I have the next slide, please? So just a couple of slides to look at how do we deal with this issue, what are some of the different measures that have been taken. And we've seen that, we've got a goal that we see across companies, across governments, across intermediaries and stakeholders that are working in healthcare. How do we achieve that goal of delivering quality healthcare at the right place, at the right time, with the right costs? And being able to do that with the fourth factor, which oftentimes you will not hear in many forums, customer or patient satisfaction. Because at the end of the day, when you look at it and someone sees a patient, it's a patient case. When someone goes through and dies, it's the body. But sometimes we forget that these are all people, and what we are seeing is that consumer interface is an extremely crucial level that's coming in for patients and consumers to take ownership of that. But we've seen now chronic diseases, lifestyle issues, populations, addiction problems, all leading to that, and governments looking at transition, because often it's a fee for service. But we've also seen governments look at fee for outcomes. We've looked at alternatives in terms of use of generics, biosimilars, and what we've heard today this morning as well, looking at provider settings out of the hospital, or moving non-emergency cases out of the emergency. Because that, if you look at it, it's one of the biggest cases in terms of not the right use of resources, right? Because the emergency center is probably the only place someone can go. Looking at incentivizing healthy behavior, and when we look at health insurance companies, we've seen them also come into play in terms of how this can have a role in reducing premiums ultimately, because we all know that keeping a patient under ICU costs much less than actually having to manage that patient in ICU. The big D, big data analytics, use of AI, use of data, how do we use that not just to drive behavioral changes, but to look at procedures. Why should a surgeon in one hospital cost that hospital $10,000 to do a procedure, and in another hospital it costs $5,000? What are the differences? What's impacting that? And finally, looking at advances in terms of position medicine, genomics, right patient, right treatment, and so on. Next slide, please. So what we see, and the reason I put this one up here is the panel we have today are companies and providers and players who have been looking at providing some of these outcomes in terms of helping us achieve these goals that we are talking about. Because we know that healthcare is a great area to work in, but also that governments have finite resources, and it's not possible for governments alone to do that. So if we look at this whole kind of continuum of care, we start, and why I brought up the consumers, we really start with possibly onboarding devices today. Everyone has a phone, whether it's a smartphone. We're seeing future smart homes coming up as well. We're seeing implants, digitalized implants, and it's a very interesting cartoon where a pacemaker actually arrives in someone's house, and the patient is told, oh, we've received notice that your pacemaker may fail in the next 2 days, so here's the one in advance. So you do see the ability to diagnose early. Looking at in-home devices and consulting in telehealth as well. Looking at the community and how we bring digital, whether into supply chain as well, because in healthcare a lot of costs are in the supply chain. And then ultimately in clinic and in hospital. And all of this supported by different platforms of analytics, data management, cybersecurity, everyone's security, and physician support. So with that background, I'm very honored to actually invite my panelists up here to join us. So I'd like to start with Ms. Ngay Singh. So Ms. Ngay Singh is the Deputy Director General of Administration, Department of Public Health, with the Ministry of Health and Sports, Myanmar. And she was also Deputy Director General of Department of Health Planning, extensively involved in the formulation of national healthcare plans and health development. I also have Ms. Anna Saparna. Ms. Anna is the CEO and co-founder of Sahati Tele CTG. So Sahati Tele CTG really looks at providing Indonesians with the chance to receive quality and accessible care, and it's a really public health experience. To show that we are not biased when we talk quality, Dr. Gregorius, you want to join us up here? So Dr. Gregorius is the CEO and founder of Atoma Digital, a digital health communication company that provides services to improve health.
I would like to say thank you very much for the organizing committee giving me a chance to participate in this panel discussion. Thank you so much. So our country, Myanmar, is located in the Southeast Asia between China and India. We are bounded by the Bangladesh, India, China, Laos, and Thailand. We have altogether 53 million population. So our country, we have a transition period, and then we have a lot of improvement and changes within the transition of the democratic government. And then also we try to, and then also we have a lot of improvement, including the ICT sector, information and communication technology sector. Now we have mobile technology is very much advanced and covered very quickly. Now almost all over the country, we get the mobile network access. So our Ministry of Health and Sports utilize this opportunity. So now we have implemented a project, flagship project. I am the lead of this one, enhancing our capacity of our basic health staff, the efficiency of our basic health staff towards the strengthening of community health. So this project, we use the mobile technology. So we provided mobile tablets to all the PHS. So I would like to link with the UAC. So now our country, Myanmar, we are implementing our National Health Plan 2016-2021, aiming towards achieving UAC in 2030. And also we have throughout the consultation process of the formulation of UAC, all the stakeholders are involved, all the development partners, ethnic health organizations, and then also the civil societies, all are included. So our national health plan is very inclusive, and then we are aiming towards achieving UAC in 2030, and also without the financial hardship, and then also the strengthening of our health system. So under the pillars of NHP, we try to develop our innovation technology to utilize in our healthcare service delivery. So currently, we have implemented the providing efficiency of improving the efficiency of basic health staff, their communication, their capacity building, and their program management, and then also the health literacy status of the community through the mobile technology. So now currently we have altogether 1,144 hospitals. Out of this, more than 736 out of 1144 are located in the rural area that we call station hospitals. So Myanmar is 70% are rural area, and then most of the population and ethnic minority groups are residing in the rural area. So we have altogether nearly 2,000 rural health centers and nearly 10,000 sub-rural health centers. They are providing the healthcare to the rural health communities. So now we equip them with the mobile tablets, with the mobile technology, because our mobile network is covered almost all over the country. So we provided all the PHS. Now we have provided altogether 1,100,000 PHS, including township health medical officer, station health medical officer, and also the grassroots level PHS, health assistant, daily health visitor, midwife, public health supervisor 1, supervisor 2, who are working really in the very remote, basic grassroots level. So we provide them with the mobile tablets. And then we provided for the PHS, we provided the PHS level SOP guidelines, manuals, and then we have a standardized health messages book. It was included 15 chapters and 330 pages too big. So by the mobile tablet, midwife can learn easily. Because we provided a mobile form, if she or he want to look at the game, he can go directly by using the mobile tablet. So mobile tablet is a library for them. It's a mobile library. So they can carry everywhere for the supervision, for the patient care, everywhere they can carry. And not only so for the PHS package, we provided more than 120 documents for the PHS. For the township medical officer and station medical officer, we provided more than 530 documents. They can learn offline, and then they can disseminate, they can share their knowledge offline in the community.
So in terms of putting all this together and reaching out, is this purely done by government, or have you partnered or worked with any private players or other groups to do it?
Okay. So now currently this first phase of the project, mobile tablets are our government arrangement. But the Gavi is going to provide another 14,000 tablets this year, and we will continue to distribute this. And then also not only the manual guidelines and SOP, we provided application like Novonordics, Denmark. They provided the 2 applications, Safe Motherhood application and also the diabetes application. So we work very closely with that kind of community and then our partners. So we translated into the Myanmar language. So midwife can learn easily, and then midwife can share this, because this application we have a video clip or like this, so they can share their knowledge and this video clip to the community easily. So community very much appreciated our initiative.
Excellent, wonderful. Now, to Indonesia, I know you want to give us some perspective on what Institute has actually done in maternal and child health services, and how are you working with the community there?
Okay. I'm truly from private sectors, and actually sustainability is our passion. Starts with our passion for better Indonesia actually, and we really believe in the company that healthcare is actually not only the responsibility of the government, but it's the responsibility of all citizens. Maybe we can put the video on so you can see what we have done. We work with the association, we work with private sectors, and with in our piloting in Kupang, actually, we already do. We have project with the Ministry of Disadvantaged Area and Village. So we together we collaborate with them to reduce the maternal and neonatal mortality rate as well as the stunting. And actually, what we find in the field is the challenge for the local government is the funding for the kick-off, the initiative. So we collaborate with private sectors, with the company, Indofood company for their CSR, while we also advocate the local government to put the cost in the next year budget. That's what we do.
So just a question now.
Yeah.
You mentioned you work with the local government, getting started to get funding and so on. So what happens if the government doesn't get to put it into the budget for next year?
Up to the 12 local governments that we work with, they agree to put in the next year budget because we can do cost efficiency actually, and I'll show you the slide in the next slide. This is actually what we have done in Kupang, and from that we do also the analytic data, and we help the Kupang government actually every month by giving them what's really going on, what are the risk factors, what they should do, the intervention. We give them like on a monthly basis, as well as we give the midwives there like an online training classes based on the high risk factors that we found that month. So we also empower the midwives because from the data you can see that the intervention is not only a medical related thing, but it's also education and nutrition. So it's really multi factors there. Why do the local government agree to put us on the next year budget? Because in a very simple way, next slide please. Okay. At the moment in Indonesia, to detect risk factors, they use maternal and children's health book, or called buku KIA. And for the distribution and printing only, it costs around $13 million US. With our solution, does have the application and the dashboard as well as the analytical data for all Indonesia. It costs around like $11 million, so it's like 11% savings. While for CTG, to put it into 10,000 community healthcare services in all Indonesia, just the machine, compared to us, it can give you a save up to 54%, and give access as well to the OBGYN. So the mobilization of doctors to remote area doesn't have to take place.
Excellent. Right, we'll come back to that later. Deborah, I think one of the important points over here about this is often we can get started, but many of these programs have to be sustainable. And I think what I sense is something that's been going on for a long time. Maybe you can share a little bit more on that. How did you make this happen?
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Deborah. I head up Novartis social business for Asia. So we work in least developed and lower middle income countries across the globe, and we have been present here in Asia for the last 11 years. And to give you some sort of, so we're present in 8 countries. And to give you a sense of the scale that we have, last year we reached 8 million people across the region. How we work is that we actually tailor our approach according to the needs of a particular country. So we will start by understanding the public health needs. We will work with the government to understand the priorities of the Ministry of Health, and then look to see where the intersection is with the strengths of Novartis. And as you mentioned, very importantly, looking to see right from the beginning how we can make this sustainable. Because we believe in partnering for the long term, and we've been here present in Vietnam now for 6 years. The program that we have here, if we start with that picture that I was describing, the challenge for the government is twofold. Like many Asian countries, the disease burden is shifting. So instead of just being infectious disease, they now have the dual burden of non-communicable disease. And specifically the focus is on hypertension and diabetes. Then from a health system point of view, actually as the infrastructure in the country has improved, patients have assumed that the best care is available in the Tier 1 hospitals. And as the road system has improved, patients have flooded those Tier 1 hospitals. And so the program that we have here is all about partnering with the services of health in 15 provinces to strengthen the primary healthcare centres. And we work with them, we go out into the community, and together with an NGO that we work with, the Vietnamese Cardiology Foundation, we do health education and we do screening. And that also enables the local services of health to capture the data of those patients, which again is very important. And we also run education programs for the doctors in the primary health centres, so that the patients who then get screened get a good service in their primary healthcare centre, which encourages them to return. And we make all of this self-sustaining by participating both in the local hospital tenders, but also we make our drugs available through the local private pharmacies as well. And through that, we've grown the program. As I say, it's six years here. We've reached 1 million patients. So, but we started with that model in mind and understanding how we make it self-sustaining, so that my boss, Harold, who's sitting at the back, and I don't have to debate whether we continue, because the program funds itself going forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, I'd like to move to Malaysia. Malaysia's got a very interesting system. You can actually see a specialist in a public hospital for about $1 US. And for a while, there were cases of patients coming in from Singapore to, workers coming in from Singapore to actually use the facilities there. So from a private perspective, also, I think it's one of the destinations for medical tourism. So maybe Prof. Sakura, you can give us some perspective of how Malaysia has kind of leveraged both public and private sectors in terms of.
Thank you very much. Firstly, on behalf of the International Medical University, I'd like to thank the organizers. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you very much. Now, before I go to how I and you participate in the partnership with the MOH, I think to do justice to where I came from, which is from the Ministry of Health, then I'd like to take on from where Ranu mentioned just now, how Malaysia has really leveraged on the private and the non-governmental partnership. And I'll give you a few samples of initiatives that we've done in Malaysia. I'll just give you, for instance, let's look at the HPV immunization program. Today, Malaysia is probably among the highest in terms of achieving the coverage for HPV immunization. And this came from a very strong partnership with academics to give us the justification on the cost effectiveness. And then we had a very great partner, which is the pharmaceutical company,
who looked at, in fact there are two companies there, who were looking at what best options in terms of cost for the government. And initially, yes, it cost us like 3 times, just to give you for instance, it was about 150 ringgit per person, which is 3 doses. It went down to 50 ringgit per person, and that was a strong push by the pharmaceutical company itself, to see how they can assist the government to be sustainable for a very long period. So this is one partnership which I'm giving you an example. Now, another one, for example, Malaysia, as mentioned, most of the population would have easy access to any of the public health facilities. They can, whenever they feel sick, except for those very distant ones, they can easily get the treatment within the same day. But we have an issue of the last mile. The last mile is those in the mountains, in the islands, and the deep forest. So the initiative was a private-public partnership again, and we were looking at how do we have a bus clinic, and the private sector innovatively convert a bus into a clinic, and where a lot of arguments about whether the staff should be in or the staff should be out of the bus, and the same principle they did and offer us also a design for the boat. So we have a boat clinic and a bus clinic. For the boat clinic, the staff can stay in the boat for 4 days up and down the river. So it was an innovation from their side, offering a very contemporary design then. But unfortunately, I think again, due to shortage of fund and all that, I think we still need to gather more partnership into this area to look at sustainability in terms of both for the staff, for the vehicle that is providing such services. Now another one, if I may. Now the elderly program in Malaysia is, forgive me for saying this, Malaysia, we are one of those not very well matured with the program, unlike many of our friends here in Asia. But because of that lack or that constraint, it created a few opportunities. And the opportunities has been tremendous from the private sector and the non-government sector. When I say private sector, they are very innovative now, looking at intergenerational housing with the developers, trying to fill it up with multiple providers, be it for the dependent and also the independent elderlies, and then now the infrastructure. We are looking at various equipment for the elderlies. However, I think Malaysia cannot cannot live on this situation for too long. There must be a government intervention with proper policies, proper regulation, to culminate all these initiatives into something that is more useful and more vibrant for the elderly that is requiring all this assistance. And I think the last two that I want to mention is the financial institution. And I think recently, I don't know whether you've heard about our B40, which is below 40. We have the financial assistance for the hospital, for the B40s, for the hospital services. They cannot afford it. So, government gives a certain kind of a cap amount that when they require this, they can have the services in the hospital. And another B40 for the primary health care. Again, the last mile, for those who cannot afford it, now they can use this financial instrument to assist. Is this the best financing instrument for Malaysia, or is this the best scheme for Malaysia? A lot of debate, but I think we are making some steps somewhere. And last but not least, at least for this session, I just want to tell you, now I have been many years in the Ministry of Health, and now I've moved on to the International Medical University, which is a private university, and this university is 25 years old, and we are very much medical. So one of the concepts that I've gone into is to introduce what we call as district partnership approach, and this is to use the experts, the academia, the research and training to participate to offer services actually to the to the district, whom we call as adopted district. Next. Just quickly, so those are our objectives, and we want to focus on research, training, and services. Next. Next. And this is the concept. I think it can give you some diagrammatical summary of what the partnership is all about. And next. And this is the roadmap in which me and my team and I has put together how we can partner with the district. Now we know that the government sector, the public sector, is usually very short-handed. They've done a lot of initiatives, and often than not, they are not the one who publish their beautiful initiatives. It will be someone else who will be publishing for them. So I think we are working with the government. If you have initiatives, why don't you work with the local universities so that they help you with the monitoring, they help you with the evaluation, and mutually publish your work. So I think we want to work towards that initiative, and I think for now the challenge would be again the government. And I think I was discussing with Deborah, is I think their biggest challenge is who are they going to partner with? There's too many of them. If I pick A, what about B? What about C? And for A, it is economies of scale. How can you have A, B, C in the same project, right? For the government, yes, I want A, B, C to participate so that I have, in terms of not economies of scale, but economies of capacity, professionalism, and assistance. So the same likewise now, even in where I'm working now to do this concept, in that particular state in which we are adopting, there are like 4 or 5 universities as well. Now why should I choose IMU? What about the University A, University B, and University C? So there is a lot of learning curve here, and policy maturity for both our sides. Mutually we have to be responsible, right? So I'll start with that.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, very interesting concept. Now, I'd like to go back to Indonesia. Dr. Gregorius, maybe you want to share a little bit in terms of how we're looking at adopting technology and working with the government here to foster innovation and access in Indonesia.
Okay, I will show you a video here, but before we start, I would like to share that this initiative actually started when my friends and I was in medical school. We were just like a second grader, and we see a lot of problems actually with the online health information. Actually, there is none in 2005 written by doctors online. We only find one doctor blogger at a time. So we kind of take this initiative and start doing something. So there are like four phases within what we have done. First one is like we're just doing non-profit, no business model. We just want to share. As medical students, we see that we are responsible also for this, and we need to ask our seniors, even our teachers, to start doing something. Then we create a platform. The second one, we start creating a business, even going bankrupt once, and then we see that the opportunity as digital startups growing. We recreate ourselves as a startup, and now further on we grow with the health tech initiative in Indonesia and in all the world. So I hope you remember this song. This is the Asian song. So this is very famous Asian Games official song. So this is what I said. We start from the idealism about public health. And we don't have enough time and enough capacity at that time. So we ask our senior and doctors, our teachers even. We just create a platform like a multi-blog at that time. And then eventually at some point it's growing and become a Q&A place for doctors, consumers, etc. And we partner with telco to create an SMS education, 90% in rural area. We even include the life insurance inside. Later stage, we develop a new platform called the Health. It's a marketplace, and we focus in helping doctors go digital and provide the health data. We partner with 200 merchants right now servicing Jakarta and Yogyakarta. With the marketplace model, we reach the consumer through digital and social media. And it is very important because not only we provide the on-demand home healthcare service, it's very easy through the apps. You can choose like HPV vaccinations, flu shot, anything. We start from something very easy actually to do at home. But what we see that the problem with Indonesia was in the logistics side, in the supply chain. So we try to connect from the principals, distributors, to the retail pharmacies, create a marketplace for them. And we not only doing this as pharmacy delivery, but we integrate with the home healthcare service. So right now we are delivering healthcare, okay, to your home, to your children. So we are helping healthcare go digital. And we have a big plan, and we see that with the USC, it is very, very good. And by the way, it is called the ANEG, the Automa Medical Digital Ecosystem. And we see that until 2030, all Asia will lack about 6 million healthcare professionals, if I'm not wrong. Because I researched that when we are trying to enroll for like a Google program and stuff. So how to help with that? I mean, we could have the marketplace model as a business, sustainable business model. We take a lot of partnership. We work with the district government. We work with the almost all pharmaceuticals, a lot of clinics and private practice. Hospitals are still working in progress. But how with the technology we can help to close the gap of the healthcare worker. So right now, what we are developing is we are creating something like a simple chatbot through WhatsApp because we have been doing in the mobile before through SMS, but it is too costly. So we moved to WhatsApp. Chatbot is about more economically scaled there, and through Facebook, etc. Because we learned that although we have application on website, almost like maybe 40% of our inquiry are coming directly through the WhatsApp number that we put in the website. That's actually just like a growth hacking mode that we create in the beginning, but it still grow until now. It's still helping people. So that's what we are trying to do. We put all the information knowledge that we have created in Tangado. We integrated it with the marketplace model, and then we try to deliver it through the chatbot for both the consumers and also we're going to launch for the like a mobile healthcare worker. Indonesia doesn't have that definition actually, so we work directly with. Maybe we can work also with Hati, etc. So a lot of partnerships.
Consumers pay for this out of pocket for the service?
Yeah, for now yes, because the BPJS need to work directly with the clinic, right, with the primary care. But we are having trial partnership with that, and we are going to see how is that going to be covered, because it is very cost effective doing the promotive preventive parts and having a support for the curative and rehabilitation.
Thank you. Now let's move to Vietnam. It'd be great to hear from Dr. Lee in terms of past experience in Vietnam, and what's the role and vision that intermediaries like have played or are going to play in terms of scaling access to information.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Before I try to address the question that the moderator asked, so I would like to introduce a bit about PAT. PAT is a global team of innovators who work together and try to accelerate the health equity. So we aim to make all the people and community to have the better health and can thrive. In Vietnam context, so this morning you heard some background information from one representative from the Department of Health Insurance. So you can see for the health system in Vietnam, for is a quite comprehensive structures system in the public sectors, and that is have some many benefits. That like we can have very wide scale primary healthcare, and we have the health system is from central level to grassroots level. Even like in the small community, we have village health, etc. So we for Vietnam is somehow is for the network of the healthcare is quite good. Besides the very well established primary healthcare, it also have like bring some factors that can be some barriers to the private sector to evolve. So sometimes the private sector can see can find that is like difficult to understand the systems and difficult to negotiate with the system. I try to work on like participate in the programs. So often for part we like try we have often like play the roles as a bridge between the government sectors and also the private sectors. We can like we can understand and can talk with the both parties, and we try to provide our support to engage the private sector into the intervention. So I just would like to share one experience about one of our community intervention that we involve not only public sector but also private sectors. And that one is the project name is Community for Healthy Heart, and it is funded by the Novartis Foundation. So we have the right here, and also some other members, sit beside and business room. So for that project, like we try to involve, we like develop some innovative intervention, try to involve as much as possible the participation from private sectors. For the private sectors, here we see that there can be the small business in the communities, can be like pharmacies, also can be social enterprises, and even like the big company like international pharmaceutical company that they contribute a lot, invest a lot to the activities. So based on that models, we provide the first ever initiative in Vietnam to engage a lot of participation from private sectors to provide the easy access to the communities. So we established the blood pressure measurement checkpoint in the communities. So the blood pressure checkpoint can be either is like you can see like in salon, any salons and nail shop, and maybe in the coffee shop, etc. So the network is quite spread, and we have a very impressive figures about the screening results that we can assess a lot of people, screen for them, and then refer them to the appropriate services. So that is like one example that that we think that very important and also applicable for other countries. So you have one question about the future for part like we are an international organization, a non-profit organization, and we have ultimate goal to mobilize the funding support to support for the programs in the country, and we often base on the country needs to prioritize our intervention. So it's like a long ways. We can see the priority can be changed time by time, and based on that, we should prioritize our resources.
I'd love to get a perspective from Deborah, since you guys are working in collaboration. Maybe a little bit of a tough question, but do you think governments are more comfortable working with large private companies when there are intermediaries, others involved, or are governments becoming more open to work directly with pure play private sector players?
So my experience is it varies by country. I think one of the things I'd really like to compliment the Vietnamese government on is I think they are very open to really encouraging everybody to participate in the challenge for UHC. I mean, it's a massive endeavour, and they've been very clear in their commitment. And tomorrow is actually an important day because we are partnering with the Ministry of Health, with academia, so with Harvard Medical School and Novartis, to announce a new alliance where we are actively encouraging others to partner with us across all sectors to create some blueprint primary healthcare centres. Because if you think about the capabilities that are needed, they go way beyond supply of medicine. So you need diagnostics, you need technology companies. You also need to think, I think, more broadly about what each partner can offer. So one of the things that pharmaceutical companies are very good at is measurement and evaluation. And we've recently published in the Lancet actually a study we've done in Kenya for our Novartis Access program, and really getting some more rigour around the impact of some of these programs so that we can all get the learnings out and share them more clearly and make sure that that data is truly robust and focused on health outcomes. So if we really want to make a change in primary healthcare, we need to be measuring the impact on the health of the community that the health centre is serving. We also need to be measuring how satisfied the patients are with that service that they've achieved, because we want them to keep returning happily to that primary healthcare centre. And importantly, to retain the staff, because the service will only be good if we can retain those staff. We also need to be measuring employee satisfaction as well. And I think this is something where we have an experience of doing this and partnering with academia to do this, where we can really make a difference. And I'm sure there are other partners in the room that equally have capabilities that are needed to really get to these blueprints. And if we can get to those, then we can start to scale it. Because we know that Vietnam has a real ambition. They have a track record of making things happen here. So the key is first to get this blueprint working, and as I say, it's a invitation for all sectors to join us in this challenge.
Maybe from the Indonesian perspective, what do you think the government could do? What would you love to see in terms of kind of engaging or enabling private sector to play a bigger role? Because you've got thousands of islands, about 200 million people. What are your perspectives in trying to work with government, and how do you see that being good for both my and everybody's?
Yeah. So basically, we see that working with the government is mostly seen from the private sector not beneficial. It is very sad to see about that, but because I mean, from the public insurance side, because the hospital sector has been like hurt a lot with delayed payment, as well with a lot of things happen. But we see the potential in the public-private partnership is actually by creating a basic regulation on how to do this kind of technology and innovation inside the healthcare system. Okay, but that's the first thing that we also try to do. Not myself as a company, but the whole ecosystem in association of the health tech. So we would love to see that the government or the Ministry of Health is responsive and agile, as like the others ministry already doing. That, I mean, Ministry of Health and BPJS a lot of times like throwing kids at there, but I know that someone is actually faster than the other. But so we want to see the government is more agile from the Ministry of Health.
Similar experience?
What would you like to see from the government?
Almost the same. They should be more responsive to the development and the progress that we and the private sector has made. I mean, from our own experience, I'm really sorry to say this, but we have created a device that is purely our innovation. The IP is ours. We have to wait like 2 years for the license to market for we to have. But the regulation, it seems that the regulation is not yet ready to accommodate us. And frankly speaking, it's actually others ministry that support us. We are supported by the Ministry of Disadvantaged Area. We are supported by the Bapenas or the Agency for Development Indonesia. We are Kemenkominfo, the information government who support us. It's quite sad to know this, but we have consulted a lot actually with Ministry of Health, and we hope in the near future there will be a change and they become more agile and adaptive to the situation.
And regulations as well.
And the regulation as well.
Yes, to just pick up on this, I think the technology's capabilities are ahead of the regulations at the moment. And so if governments want to go faster, one area that they can help us all, I think, with is to allow us to experiment. And, you know, we're not, because we know changing the regulations will take time, but if we can agree some areas where we will try, because frankly, a lot of the Amazon-style solutions, the technology is all there. So, and we are piloting different elements of it in different countries. So we already do video consultations as part of our program in India, for example. We are very close to launching a system in the Philippines which will enable rural patients to be able to access medicines in rural communities at an affordable price. But the reason that we haven't been able to put it all together yet is because the regulations in some countries will allow you to do an electronic prescription and get it fulfilled, other countries won't. You know, there's differences. So if we have a big idea to try this somewhere, we also need some green lights to in a very controlled way, because we understand why those regulations are there, find ways to be able to get the right permissions to see whether we can make it work without creating unnecessary and unacceptable risk for patients. But the regulations at the moment assume the traditional model of a patient sitting in front of a doctor, getting a piece of paper and physically going to a pharmacy, and that actually prohibits many patients from getting medicine. And we now have solutions to this, so we need the regulations to move as well.
You want to comment before I go on?
Yeah, I just have this. Actually, the proposal was already put the Indonesian MOAs about we learned that Singapore has found the health tech regulatory frameworks, and we have worked for quite a time with this. And maybe since we are talking about achieving UHC in Asia, Africa, by scaling the community-led innovation, why don't we put together, create I don't say global, but let's say regional first, like how we could create regulatory frameworks together for the health tech. So let's say for this Asia, together what we learned from Philippines, what Singapore has done, Thailand, Myanmar, Vietnam also. So in this time, because we want to learn is a lot. Indonesia has its own problem, Vietnam has its own problem, every government has its own problem, but technology, because I just realized that you said the Amazon style innovation, yes, because technology always think global. So we have the same solution for all kind of problems. Okay. So why don't we like just proposing that we create together?
Absolutely. I think it's something that ASEAN did look at from an organization perspective, but it was more for regulations, the drugs and so on. So definitely a next stage to look at. I'd be interested to get the perspectives from governments from Myanmar, and maybe from your perspective in the government Singapore and Malaysia. How would you respond to this? Because you see that the wish list from private sector is for government to be more agile, for government to be more receptive, I guess, to ideas and to move faster. In your perspectives, what's still holding them back? Because some governments are not operating as they were 30 years ago. Some maybe still are. So, Mr. Foran and I'd love to hear your perspectives.
Thank you very much. Yeah. When I was in the government, and then I was saying when I'm now in the private. When I was in the government, I think the difficult issue that the government has to address is equity and accessibility. A lot of the solution that is being offered to the government is high cost, high resource. And sometimes the solution is, why don't you pilot it in this area? And let's see this happen. But then in the long run, yes, we pilot this, it's going to be successful. Now how do we scale this up? So again, yeah, we can have this is successful and proven, but then we are not addressing equity. It's going to be just maybe limited to just that small area. So I think that is one of the biggest issues, particularly technology. And I think, for instance, we have our own homegrown EMR system for the primary care, for the community care. And this was launched in 2006. That's like 13 years ago, but we are still stuck with only like what, 20-30% of the primary care having all that fully computerized. I mean, it's a fully computerized CIS system in the health clinic. However, despite that limitation, we've got like 6 million heads count inside that. It's like 6 million of 30 million Malaysians. So it's made progress, but yes, the government sees the benefit, but how do I scale it up? It would mean stopping another project for this project to go on. So it is a very difficult situation actually for the government, to be fair to them, since I was from that. But I think now in the private sector, yes, they lack agility. But what I said was a fact, right? Yeah. They lack agility in the sense that can't they be more proactive in this area? Look at where the gaps are. Why can't they, fill up those gaps? Yes, maybe we don't have that. We don't have that knowledge. Why don't we consult our colleagues or friends around? What framework did they use? Vietnam. Maybe we can learn from Vietnam. Being very open and all that. I mean, having said that, I know some of those very ingrained policies in the government. Some of them are, like hardbound kind of policies that is quite difficult to change. But nonetheless, I think that if we have made so much progress, and many of the countries have made so much progress in this area, in moving partnership, I think each country, each government has to find ways and means, how to make this possible, this leveraging of partnership. We know that it's going to benefit in the long run. How can we make it happen?
So as I mentioned before, now we realize and then we recognize that governments cannot move alone to achieve the UAC. We need to collaborate with the private sector. So especially in the innovation of IT technology, like a Ministry of Health, we don't have such kind of capacity, and then also that we don't have enough manpower. We have a very limited manpower, especially in the IT. So we need to collaborate and work together with the private sector and all the partners. Like our current work, strengthening the efficiency of busy health staff through mobile technology. We apply the mobile device management system. So from the central, we can send the updated information, updated application to the mobile device easily from the central push system. So for example, we don't have the capacity. So we have a technical assistant from the private company. So and then at the beginning of the project, they help us all the management of mobile device management system, and then they transfer the technology, and then now we work together. It's an example. So government realize and recognize for the collaboration and cooperation.
I'd love to get some questions from the floor. So if you've got any, please bring them up. But I just before we get to that, maybe Dr. Lee, from Park's perspective, we see that there are many different companies coming forward with different programs, ideas, suggestions. What role could intermediaries like TAP play in ensuring that there's no overlap, like not everybody's trying to do the same thing, and we're actually putting resources where it's needed in kind of equal distribution?
Thank you for the question. So, this morning Deborah mentioned programs that Novartis is supporting in 15 provinces, and for Novartis Foundation support part to do some intervention in one province, in one big series. Somehow we can see that many programs happen in the country. So often I think it's better to have better information sharing between partners. We in some programs we have such kind of technical working group. That is a forum we can share the information. For example, the intervention side that we can try to avoid overlapping, and also we share about some very good intervention that we can learn from each other, etc. So such kind TWG can be either hosted by one organization like PAC, and also some champion of PNS, but also involved the government too. Right now the PAC is, for example, for the non-communicable disease programs, we work closely with the Ministry of Health, and we support the ideas of establishment of the technical working group. And in that one, we have participation from all the organization, agency, partners, both public and private, and also academics also. So such kind of mechanism, so we can have a better collaboration and support each other, complement to each other.
Any comments or questions from the floor? Oh, okay, so we start. Let me just introduce you. I'm sure everyone knows this. Lady.
On the charge you gave me. My name is Tiaji Salam Blyther. I come from Congressional Research Service at the Library of Congress, and I will be facilitating a deep dive on building regulation and accountability. Priya told me I'm supposed to entice you all to come over to mine, so this is my opportunity to steal the microphone and try and get you to come over to my deep dive. This concept of regulation and the government keeping up with technology, I should say, catching up with technology, I really want to encourage you to think about that and come to my table and explore that a little bit more. The reason I'm saying this is because you all have notes. So many notes I've written about the incredible technology you've written. I read about things that have been developed in Kenya, all of these wonderful things, but then you say, okay, the government is not keeping up with these. So I would like to hear, during our deep dive, we discuss what are some of the concerns that government has put forth to slow down the adaptation of these technologies. Also, I would like to discuss what are some of the genuine capacity limitations that government enabled in order to actually adapt to these technologies. And I love the idea from my colleague in Indonesia to come up with some kind of regional plan to say, okay, these are things we've learned that government has said, no, this is why we can't regulate so quickly. If we could write these down, not just for Asia, but for our colleagues here and from the Africa team to learn from and say, okay, we can actually think about this when we go back home and start to address these issues. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think interesting to know about the participation of nobody's. You're going to do some sort of evaluation impact, but especially on NCD. I think NCD is something, it's chronic disease. To see the impact it takes a long time. So I think it's very challenging to participate or involve in collaborate with the country, and then you're going to have to wait for some time to see the impact. So how you actually balance this out?
Just one. Maybe we can just gather a few questions. So, anyone?
Good afternoon. It was interesting to hear about the perspective of technology providers from private on the lag in government regulation. But the one point which we, that is the policymakers as well as procurers, for example, my organization procures for around $300 million every year, is when a new technology comes, like whether it is CTG or something comes, the government has to do two things. One is to select the technology and procure it. So when I'm going to select something which is new, how does government take a decision on whether this is the most appropriate technology to deal with the problem? Because it's new, it doesn't have a comparator, only except for the pre-existing solution. Number two is the process. Something new is always proprietary, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing new which is generic. So how do we make the process decision to procure fixing a value for that particular choice? I mean, new technology providers like you, how do you work with government to solve these two questions?
Thank you for such an interesting panel conversation around how the private sector and innovation play a role in achieving EHC. So for me, I have probably just some more questions, some not. So one okay, all grouped into one, sorry. So the other thing, what I wanted to ask is, we're talking about intermediaries here. Yet, as you look at the movement globally, there is a lot of this intermediation because of technology and of course, innovation and borrowing lessons from other sectors. So, how do organizations that have for a long time been the broker between government and private sector stay relevant? More of enablers than participants in the value chain. And I'll say probably one of the books probably we need to read. There's a book on the hedgehog and the beetle that really talks about how intermediaries in the health sector are remaining in the age of thinking that they can actually play a big role as intermediaries. Yet there's a lot of disruption in that space due to technology. So I'd like to hear probably how the panelists, look at that for the future.
Great question. I think we had one more there.
Okay. We have lots. Right. Let's do just one more question because then, save for the deep dive.
Yeah. We'll save for the deep dive. I promised 5. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm, actually very interesting to listen on the topic. The audience today very interesting, especially achieving the USC in, with using, scaling communities and innovation. So I just introduce myself. I'm Dr. Bhuvan Cheung. I work in Community for Healthy Health that Peter mentioned. So I work with support Ho Chi Minh City to implement the innovations approach for early detection and long-term management of hypertension and CVD. And now we integrate with hypertension, diabetes as well. So we can go work through this. I think the important for achieving this engaged community levels and early detection, especially, I can mention, 77% of the burden of disease and death due to the NCD. And and in Vietnam, for example, hypertension, more than 50% of people who have hypertension, they don't know status, they don't know they have hypertension. So this is serious problem. And then many people are not, only 30% of them achieve the targets of the 50 high blood pressure control. So there are a lot of things have to do to engage the community level, the government, the primary health care. So my question for all here is how we can train, the community-led driven innovation in the way of, engage people, engage private sector, and involve every sector. Especially, you have a lot of potential private sectors, community people. And then I would say that how we frame it, community, private sector, how we can financing it, because people have the potential to contribute for that. And
I'm going to ask you to stop, right?
Yeah, sorry.
I think that question is the whole, that question is the purpose of the whole.
So my request to the panel is that you've got a whole plethora of questions, pick 2 or 3, and the rest we
Is our study long-term study? Yes, absolutely, as our clinical studies have to be. So we have just published actually the midterm results, and the study is still ongoing. For the thinking here for Vietnam is that we not only take the learnings that we've got from doing that study in Kenya into what we're going to do here, but we will partner Harvard with a local university so that actually the capability of running these programs in the country is built, because this is going to be fundamentally important for the government to be able to measure its programs going forward. So we see this as a capacity building exercise for the long term. Building on your point, I think the one thing I would say we've learned from the Healthy Hearts program here is that the private sector, people often think of big organisations like Novartis, but actually a lot of the work has been done in the local community by local small businesses. So I don't know whether you caught it from what was explained by Paz, but the BP monitors have been stationed in local hairdressers and in nail bars. So we've actually engaged the whole community in this challenge, both the public and the private sectors at all levels.
Talking about intermediaries, you want to pick that up as well, how that's evolving?
Yeah, maybe I just add one comment to Deborah's input. So you have a question about the long-term NCD programs, how the private sectors and others can help the governments. So I think there are some important things. At the beginning, we should focus on, we should think about before we implement such intervention. So we need the program is going to be implemented should provide a good intervention models. That is one important thing. This can show the result to the government about any investment that you put in the programs. And also the second one is like the information about the capacity building for the existing system in the country. So it either the government, public sectors, but also some supporting sectors to the government. And the third one is about some mechanism can sustain the programs. The mechanism here is like the coordination, coordination, also financing mechanism, etc. Try to make the system go smoothly and sustainably. So this thing will have the program can be sustained after any partners withdraw support. So we should think at the beginning like that. And we think about the transition plan to the government about that for that intervention. So that is some of my comments. And for the intermediaries, like I mentioned, you mentioned about the broker roles. So I think like this, the organization, a neutral organization, for example, PAT is one example. We try to be like a bridge, a broker, to connect the private sector and the government. And of course, for PAT, we have some policy. When we partner with some private company or private sectors agency, we need to know well about them. You see, because like we somehow it's like building trust from each other. So we can trust in them, they can trust in us, and we can advocate the government to trust in the private sectors. It's somehow we can do. And also, like I also would like to provide some comments also about the government. Someone asked about government, what they are expect from the private sectors. So I used to work for government for more than 13 years in the Ministry of Health. So I know, like at the beginning, when any private sector approach the government, the first question they will ask about what the benefit, the intervention, the program that private sector can bring into them, and also any like contribute any benefit to contribute to the actual community levels, and also to build capacity for the government health systems, and that is a long-term partnership, or like just very short-term. It can just happen 1 year or something like that. And last but not least, maybe they wonder a little bit about behind the scene advantage that the private sector want to use it. That is like
There is 1 minute. I'll come in. 1 minute. If you want to pick up any of those questions and maybe how tech can, I'll come around 1 minute to each to that. If you want to pick up any of those questions and your comments, maybe how can tech give government more insights to make decisions?
Yeah, so thank you, and I would like to have more deep dive with the regulation and take it regional or even global. But for I mean, medical is very creative, and when we adapt the from aviation about checklists, I think we can learn from other sector. For us, the selection, I think medical have all the basic things about like comparing the new things with the gold standard. It's been done always every time. But the second one is for procure. I mean, when we learn from the fintech sandbox model, we see that first we need to understand. I mean, the government and the public-private need to understand the process, the business process. So we know how one company doing this and that, and then make it regulation. But at that process, we also learn how they are really doing it. So it will help in the procurement. And then after that, of course, when you have the regulation, it is much easier, okay, because you have everything settled. So from my point is, let's meet in the middle for both private and public in promoting innovation, because we will need it. We are not going to, I mean, this one I learned when we're trying to help create a hackathon for SDG. We are not going to reach SDG without the help of technology entrepreneurs. So let's face it, we are going to do it together.
Sakura, you're 1 minute.
Yeah. 1 minute, less than 1 minute.
I think all of us agree that the government wants to do this, and I think that the issue is how to do it. I think the first thing they need to do is, what do you want to achieve? And number two is, let's map where those competencies are coming, which are the players that can come and really contribute. And I think without doing those, I think you really find it difficult to go ahead. Yeah, please embrace technology and embrace us in private sectors who really wants to help, because it's very rare for private sectors to want to jump into something that is actually government responsibility. So if some private sectors wants to jump into this field, please just give us chance.
As a government perspective, for the procurement and also the services, we have a tendering process, very transparent. And then we also have a MSS is in the market sector coordination committee. All the partners, private sector, all the representatives are there, and then we can decide together.
Wonderful. So, guys, thank you very much. Please join me in thanking our panel. And the key is give Chuck a chance.
Thank you so much, Renu. If the panel could just wait a second, we want to get a photo opportunity. Few housekeeping. Lunch is ready, and as you go out, Amy will have what they call lunch vouchers, and lunch will actually be served at the restaurant downstairs where breakfast was served in the morning. It's a buffet lunch. You have about an hour to enjoy lunch. It's been a long day, and let's reconvene here for the deep dive. The session would be much more fast-paced. It would be less, kind of less heavy format, and I'll take about 2 minutes to introduce that to you when you come back, and then we will wrap up the day. So once again, thank you very much. Please pick up your lunch vouchers, 1 hour, and we will reconvene here after an hour. Thank you so much.